welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danika. With me, we have the Chief of Police right there in Franklin, Louisiana. It is Chief Morris Beverly. Thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm glad to be here.
However, it's maybe not on such great terms of why we're meeting. We actually want to focus on some of the recent shootings and as well as shots fired incidents that have happened in the city of Franklin. It's gotten so bad, I would say the word bad, because even your mayor has actually taken to social media to address the uptick in the gun violence that you have had and witnessed during the last couple of, I think maybe 3-4 months, pretty much since we've gotten to the year 2021. Tell me, why do you think that we're having so much of this violence spring up? Because a lot of it has to do with persons under the age of 21.
You're absolutely right. I think it's several things. One of the upticks is nationwide. I think COVID may have had an effect on that, but then I think it's young people that are making bad decisions, that's not thinking about the repercussion for what they do. And that's something that we need to work on as a community, to open up their mind, to let them know that, hey, look, what you're doing could ruin your life. So in addition to that, you can take the life of someone else. So,
That's right.
So that's something that I think we have to work a little bit hard on. That's something that me and the mayor both are passionate on, and that's one of the reasons that he has went to his Facebook page and made sure everybody is knowing his feelings about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's pretty much a long post that he posted on Facebook. He also mentioned that the See Something, Say Something, I call it the unofficial campaign, has really worked. People are stepping up because I think just they're tired of having to deal with the random gunfire you hear in the middle of the night.
Absolutely. I've said it from the beginning when I first started with the police department that we can't do it by ourselves. We need some help, and the citizens are our biggest help. Yeah. So we need them to chime in, and even if they think that it may not be nothing that we need, give us a call. Let us determine that. Yeah. So we need their input. And recently we've been getting some input, and it's helped us with several cases. And so my hat goes out to those people that have a strong feeling of participation with their community and wants to make their community safe.
Yes. Now, I mean, speaking of the mayor, I mean, one of his relatively, I guess, the newest things that he's doing is especially going to social media by saying, look at our businesses. We're getting new businesses and we're thriving. However, it kind of puts a bad eye on what is actually what's successfully happening in Franklin when you have this marred by the gun violence.
Right, and that's one of the things, one of the reasons why the mayor and myself, we're so passionate about it. The mayor, since he stepped into that position, has been working 24/7 to uplift the city of Franklin. He's cognizant of what it takes to be a good mayor and to bring in people and jobs, and we don't want nothing like that to deter us. And anytime anybody shoot a gun, anytime anyone lose a life, the businesses look at that. So we don't want that in the city of Franklin. We want our city to be uplifted.
Yeah. Now let's get to something a little heavy here, and I don't think a lot of our young people know, because you mentioned to me, and I said, is there gang violence? I mean, because when you have the suspects who are under 21, and you have the intended targets who are also likely under 21, and you're having these random acts of violence that happen in some of maybe the higher areas that are prone to violence. Is this a turf war? Are these gangs that we're seeing?
One of the things that we've been looking at is gang activity. We're focusing on what we may have identified as several groups, and we've contacted the federal attorney's office, and we're looking at some RICO statute violations that we can use to deter these young men.
That's why I said let's get heavy. Because baby, if you start talking RICO, I don't know if they know. I mean, if they listen to hip hop, if they know their statute, if you start talking RICO, that means you can be put away for the rest of your life, or maybe come out when you're in your 70s or 80s.
You're absolutely right, and And so that's why we're in the mayor is passionate about reaching out to these young men, reaching out to their family to let them know, hey, look, this is serious stuff. Taking a life is serious, going to jail is serious.
Yeah.
And we are serious about what we're doing.
Yes. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We're going to take a short break, but come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Chief Morris Beverly with the City of Franklin. Now, we talked a little bit about these random acts of gun violence, and we're talking about gangs. Now, come on now. I'm in Morgan City. Morgan City is not that big, but it is a city. Franklin is a city, but Franklin is pretty small. Now, when we talk about gangs, are these gangs in Franklin? I mean, what areas? I mean, maybe, I don't know what areas, but it's not that big.
It's not that big, and what we're talking about is Franklin and the surrounding areas.
Okay.
So even though that person might not be from Franklin, they're not too far away as
Right.
it is.
Now, one thing I've learned since I've moved here, you got to be careful who you date, who you're around, because you could be dating a cousin or an aunt, something, whatever. You have to be, I mean, those families will meet, and that blood runs long. So it seems almost like you really could be in a rival gang against your own family member. Does it get that deep?
That's always a possibility, and that's why we take it so seriously. Even though I smiled when you spoke about family ties and everything, this is serious business that we're talking about. This is where someone could lose their life. This is someone going to prison for the rest of their life.
Oh, yeah.
So we take that serious. We want the youth to live a good, valuable life, be a good person in the community,
That's right.
uplift the community. So using a gun and shooting a gun is always a negative. It's never a positive when it comes to shooting in and around a city.
As an officer of the law, do you have any type of influence on the punishment or the penalties that could be imposed upon these individuals?
No, our job is to identify the people that's doing wrong, arrest them, and then put them before the judicial system. We have judges and prosecutors that handle that part, and whether it's a jury trial or a judge trial, they're the one with the outcome of what that person would be getting.
Okay. Since all this has happened, have you beefed up patrols, and how often will we see your officers within the community?
We have beefed up patrol. We've actually used a lot of our admin officers, which are the people that usually work in the daytime. We've extended them to our patrol. In addition to that, we have some of our officers working overtime because, once again, we do take this serious, and our efforts are to put an end to it.
Well, I mean, you have these people working double time. Does that mean you're also hiring? I mean,
We are.
is there a shortage of officers?
We are hiring. Actually, we're looking to hire 4 more officers. We like to get some officers that's already qualified, certified, so they can be instantly put on the road. But we will send them to academy to be trained.
Yeah, we're finding that there's kind of an employee shortage just about everywhere. And
Yeah.
you said 4. 4 is quite a lot.
Yes, that is a lot. Like I said, but we will give them the training and the necessary know-how to do their job.
Now, again, I'm not here to defend anybody breaking the law, but do you think that a lot of this is happening because there's not a lot to do? I mean, is there a lot to do for the kids? I mean, again, this is for a lot of individuals who are under the age of 21. I mean, is it the idle mind? I have nothing to do, so I just need to fill my time doing something, and all that testosterone, and I mean, I don't know. Why do you think that is?
Well, once again, like I said, COVID did play a part in that. It did keep people in their house. We did shut down a lot of the recreational activities that we had in the past. But once again, the mayor that we have, he's been proactive with putting activities to the forefront. He's been instrumental in putting out volleyballs, sand volleyball, horseshoes. He's brought several things to the forefront. And so we can't say that there's not activity. As a matter of fact, last week for the first time, there was a bike ride through the city of Franklin that was done in the afternoon. So the mayor has been working hard to put more events out there on the table. We have the Juneteenth, which is coming up next month. So he's been working hard and with some assistance to put a lot of activities out there for the people.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back and especially talk about that, especially now that COVID restrictions are being a little more laxed. So we'll talk about some of the things. Last year we didn't get a chance to do National Night Out. We'll see if that's coming back. Come on right back here to the Voice of the Coast with yours truly. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Chief Morris Beverly with Franklin PD. We talked about with COVID, a lot of the restrictions have been laxed. However, the mandate is not in place. But have you relaxed those requirements for your officers when it comes to interaction with the public?
Once again, it's on an individual basis. We leave that up to the officer. Some of the officers have taken their vaccine and other officers haven't. So if an officer doesn't feel comfortable, he can wear his mask, follow the mandates of the CDC, and the rest of those officers that feel comfortable, they've taken their shots, and enough time has passed that they feel comfortable with the vaccination, they're allowed to not use a mask. Yeah. But it's a personal preference.
Right. You mentioned that the mayor has actually incorporated more activities now that COVID restrictions are relaxed or are laxed. What about National Night Out? Nobody in the parish, and I'm assuming just about across the nation, went forward with National Night Out. Are we going to see that come back?
I can't tell you at this time. We do have a committee with Ms. Edwards. She's one of the people that leads that committee, and we haven't got together at this time, but I think if I know Ms. Edwards and she can do it, she will do it. So we should be getting together shortly, and hopefully we can get Night Out back together.
Okay. Now, on this show, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And right now, this is about the ugly because I happened to see it as I was scrolling on Facebook. There was a fire at the PD. And this was during our winter snap. Now, most people say, oh, they were just trying to keep warm. But this was not the PD. This was actually some of the inmates that made their way into the administrative offices and started this fire.
Well, it actually started in the jail. It was in the shower area.
Okay.
We had some plumbing done shortly before this incident. And there's a cover over the shower. And some of those inmates discovered that and has brought some illegal contraband in, which started the fire. There were a few records that were damaged, but actually the inmates were in their cells. They were not walking free throughout the police department of the jail. But like I said, they actually had some items, some contraband that started the fire.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think naturally folks think they're running rampant inside the jail, but they were not walking freely about.
No, they weren't. Like I said, it was a shower stall that had some plumbing done, and there was a cover that was not fitted correctly, and they found that as a place to stash some contraband.
Yeah. One thing we did not talk about, and let's kind of go back to the enforcement and patrolling. Because there's a shortage of officers, have you teamed up with St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office? Are you guys going to be working together at all? Because I know a lot of times the Sheriff's Department will try to fill in the gaps with a lot of our municipalities if they fall short, particularly Baldwin.
And actually, me and Sheriff Blaze Smith, we spoke of that yesterday. We sit on the 911 commission together for St. Mary Parish, and he brought it to my attention that he really wanted to do something. In addition to that, he wanted to do a little media outreach with him, myself, and the mayor. So we got it first. Just saying, we got it first. He's been the first person to say, hey, look, let's see if we can stop this violence, these shooting.
Yeah. Okay. And speaking of officers you're looking to hire, what are the qualifications or the requirements?
21 years of age, high school diploma, and really have a passion for law enforcement and protecting the public. Those are the big things for us. You know, they really have to have a passion for this job.
Yeah. And then, of course, if they're hired on, you will likely, put them through training,
Yes.
certification.
Yes, the St. Mary Parish Sheriff Office actually does have an academy, and we have 2 young men that's in the academy right now that will be graduating in about another week and a half.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we're rolling. We got another segment to come, so come on right back here, to the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Chief Morris Beverly with the City of Franklin. Now, again, we talked about pretty much the first 2 segments about just the random acts of violence as far as gun violence within the City of Franklin. I don't necessarily like highlighting other crimes, but are you seeing maybe an uptick in drug use or drug abuse or domestic violence or burglaries? How are you on with those different crimes? Are they just as high? Are they going down? What's the status?
We have gotten more calls on domestic calls because of the fact that I think people are, since COVID, has been put in a so-called bubble for a longer period of time.
Marriages have really gone through the test of time.
Right.
Huh?
So just in that fact that they're together more, cause those domestic cases to rise a little bit. We've been fortunate that some of the other things like burglaries and so forth have been lowered. And once again, like I said, most of that is, to me, a lot of that is we have younger kids that's been in the COVID world for quite some time, and they want to express themselves a little bit more. So they're more outgoing, more vocal, and I think that's led to some of the gunplay, uptick in gunplay. And once again, not just in Franklin, all over the United States. If you look around, you'll see that there's a big uptick nationally in the gun violence, and we hope that that will come back down and that people will come to their senses and say, hey, look, this is not the way to go.
Now, we kind of mentioned during the break, we were saying it's the young, criminals, but our older criminals have kind of said, I'm retired.
Once again, looking at the stats, some of the older criminals have said, hey, look, COVID, I'm going to stay in the house, I'm going to do the right things, I'm going to take the shots, and so we don't see as many adult and older criminals out there doing the things that they used to do.
Yeah. And just for the record, because you got to always cover yourself, because I know folks will say, why are you laughing? It's not that. It's just the fact that we are looking at the numbers, and we're seeing, honestly, when I look at those numbers across the board from Morgan City, our Sheriff's Department, Franklin, Patterson, the numbers do not lie. We have more of our younger, suspects, alleged, even victims are younger now. So it's unfortunate, but we are seeing a lot of the older folks who are not really out there committing crimes as we would have maybe a pre-COVID world. So I just want to make that clear, because you got to always be careful when folks see you talking about these type of things. It's still a serious issue. Let's get to training, because we have a little bit of time left. How are you able to train in a COVID world?
Well, a lot of our training now is virtual. On the computers. We still do the training that we need to do. We do still do physical training, but that's in the COVID world with masks, and we separate as much as possible. But we are mandated to do a certain amount of training, and we still do that training. But a lot of the training that we may have attended a class, we're doing it virtually.
Yeah. Do you think this is what's going to happen from here on out? Because, well, it's probably it's less expensive to do it this way.
It is. It's less intrusive on manpower also, and it's more convenient. So I think the COVID world has put us into a virtual world when it comes to training.
Yeah. So really, no in-person conferences as of yet.
No, not as of yet. I know we will be having some, but like I said, I think a lot of them will be virtual from this point on.
Okay, we have a little time left, and I would love if you wouldn't mind maybe addressing the residents in the Franklin area.
Well, most certainly. And I'm addressing when it comes back to the gun violence. There's something that is not productive to the community. It takes away from the community. We want our community to be a positive community, not a negative community. We want our community to be uplifted. We want business to come. We want people to feel safe. And the gun violence is just a negative. There's nowhere to say it other than it's a negative. And in addition to being a negative, people can lose their life. Innocent people can lose their life. So please, we're asking everyone to be positive and stay away from those guns.
All right, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.